What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Hardwood Convos podcast here on the 515 Podcast Network. I'm Brock Bierman alongside Dawson Livingston and Hunter Rose, here to talk some NBA hoops here, recording here on Tuesday, December 10th of 2024. Fellas, how are we doing? NBA basketball, I know it's probably not going to be as heavy of an episode in terms of content. It's kind of a slow week. We do have some little things that we're going to hit on for sure, but how are we doing this week here on a Tuesday?
It's snowing, man.
It's snowing where you are at?
Yeah. And like it ain't just like a kind of snowing.
Blizzard?
It's a winter wonderland out there. And I was not expecting it because at like 4:15 today, I was walking to the college campus in Kearney, and it was like kind of starting to flurry like a little bit, but like it's still like 40 degrees out. Start walking about 6. White out all over the crew neck. My shirt is drenched. Not good.
Doesn't look like we're supposed to get any snow. I mean, I have a slight chance
Get that out of here
today, but I don't think we're supposed to get anything until Saturday. Dawson, you're in Iowa City. Are you guys supposed to get any snow? Have you guys had snow there? I know that we've had snow in central Iowa. I don't know if it got over to Iowa City.
Yeah, we had snow, I think it was last Thursday or Friday. We had our first snowfall finally. But
how rough is it getting around on campus? Because isn't it divided by a bridge or like by a river or something like that?
Yeah, the rivers, it splits West Campus and East Campus. Well, it's terrifying because in Iowa City, the pedestrians or the drivers, they don't fear death. So like, you could be like driving and the pedestrians will just walk in the middle of the road, or you'll be a pedestrian and the drivers will not look either way and you'll get hit. I've seen it happen multiple times on just my way home from class.
They live in that Kirk Cousins mindset. If I die, I die.
Dude, I guess.
But we're back here going to talk some NBA hoops. One of the things that I wanted to hit on, and we'll hit on it a little bit later, we'll talk a little bit about the Orlando Magic, their injury situation, closer and closer to history and the assist record books as the season goes on, as well as some potential trade rumors. And we could touch a little bit on who we think is the leading candidates currently for MVP. But one of the biggest things, I don't know if it's a big headline today or a big headline as it would have been maybe if it was 2 or 3 years ago, but trade rumors have started for a handful of players. One of them more specifically in Miami, Jimmy Butler, isn't necessarily on the trade block, but it sounds like the Miami Heat are kind of open to conversations. I don't know if there's any traction on actual deals or if teams are actually wanting to pick him up. I think Jimmy Butler has stated certain teams that he'd be interested in. I'm not 100% sure if I saw that on an actual account or if it was NBA Centel. You know, you can't trust that account. But what are your guys' thoughts? I know Hunter's probably loving this idea of talking about Miami, the Jimmy Butler era in Miami coming to an end at some point. Is this surprising to you guys at all? Or is this kind of like, it's not shocking, but at the same time, I didn't really see it heading into the season? Hunter, you might as well open it up. You had the big grin on your face.
Yeah, look, man, I just think it's so funny. First of all, hearing Jimmy Butler era is kind of hilarious to like hear, because what has the Jimmy Butler era amounted to?
I can tell you one play that pops into my mind. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but one play that pops in my mind is Jimmy Butler in transition, Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, pulling up for 3 and just shorting it, hitting it in the front of the rim against the Celtics. That's the epitome of what the Jimmy Butler era has been.
Yeah, it's been nothing but like just annoyance for anybody in the Eastern Conference that's a contender, and nothing else outside of that. And so it's kind of funny. I think the other thing that's interesting too is like I saw a funny TikTok, I think earlier today, and it kind of made me think about it more. But like when Jimmy Butler like went to Miami, and all this time we've heard nothing. You know, the thing you hear about Miami, even when they're not, you know, necessarily like winning or like at the top of the world, is this heat culture, right? This whole idea of heat culture, being gritty and everything. That doesn't like line up anymore, for being honest. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, we don't care about the regular season. Excuse me? What's that winning culture we just heard about, you know? Like, oh, like all of a sudden we don't care about 82 games. It's like yeah, sure. In the NBA, it's like at the end of the day, the main games, there's only 16 games that really count. But at the same time, it's like you got to be able to get to those 16 games, and all of a sudden, it's just kind of funny. I am intrigued because I really don't know what's going to happen. To be honest, I've seen reports of like, oh, like yeah, they're looking at shipping him, they're looking at getting him out. Then there's other things where it's like, oh yeah, he's not leaving during free agency because I believe he's a free agent this upcoming summer, if I remember right. And they're like, oh yeah, we'll definitely get him back. It's like, well, huh? Like, excuse me, those two things don't really compute. If I'm someone who's like, oh, there's gonna be trade rumors about me, I'm probably not gonna stick around in free agency for very long, if at all. And so, I am interested to see, because at the same time, it's like they're the 5 seed right now. It's like I don't really see much of a point in trading. If you really think things are going downhill, then you would, but it'll be interesting. I think just in general, like things in Miami are kind of weird. We're still waiting on that. We're what, year 10 now of waiting for Bam Adebayo to make that offensive leap. So who knows? But I'll be interested to see what they end up deciding to do by February.
Dawson, what are your thoughts?
I'm not surprised just because it feels like Miami's kind of in that weird point where they're not bad enough to get a good draft pick, but they're also not good enough to like make a title push. So I can see why the rumors are starting up. And then when you look at the teams that he would potentially like go to, like in that article that ESPN released, it says Houston, Dallas, or a team like Golden State. I think those are 3 like viable teams that have the assets to trade for him, especially a team like Houston. I think Houston's got all those picks from Brooklyn. They still have all those young players. A team like Dallas, you pair him with Luka, Kyrie. Maybe you have to ship Clay and some draft picks over to Miami to get the deal done. But, I mean, if you're able to pair those 3 together in Dallas, I mean, geez Louise. Even a team like Golden State, giving Curry one more real chance at a deep playoff push. We don't know how good Butler is going to be. He's 35 years old at this point. He is going to be a free agent in the offseason. I think he's eligible if he opts out for a $113 million extension, which who knows if Miami really even offers that to him. We'll see. But no, the first thing that really caught my eye was the 3 teams they mentioned that he could potentially go to.
Yeah, and the big issue with this deal with Butler is that his contract is going to affect a lot of trades. I think I'm looking at an article right now on just SB Nation, and it's saying anything with Dallas would have to include both Klay Thompson and PJ Washington for that deal to be even possible. And no offense to Jimmy Butler, but if I'm Dallas, I'm not even considering giving both PJ Washington and Klay Thompson up for Jimmy Butler, a 35-year-old Jimmy Butler who, let's be honest, is past his prime. He can take over games, but not on a regular basis as we've been able to see in the past. Other ones, I'm assuming with the Warriors, Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga would probably be 2 players to keep an eye out for. That one wouldn't shock me as much because I feel like the Wiggins situation in Golden State isn't as big as it was maybe when they won the finals, because really outside of that finals run, or more specifically that finals round against the Celtics, Andrew Wiggins hasn't really been that good. I'm not saying that he's
All-star starter Andrew Wiggins. 2022 All-Star starter Andrew Wiggins.
But anyways, and then another team that would like the Rockets with their salary, I think Dylan Brooks is a name that's been rumored around, which I mean, Dylan Brooks and Heat culture would just be amazing.
Oh my God. That needs to happen now.
So I don't, pairing those 3 teams, I actually do like in terms of how he could pair up with the stars and the other players on those rosters. Because, yeah, he's a guy that probably demands the ball and likes to drive, but you can get him more off of backdoor cuts and just cutting in general because he's not a 3-point shooter whatsoever, as proven in clutch situations in the playoffs. I don't know what the plan is for him, what he wants specifically, or what Miami wants. at this point, I can say confidently I don't think he'll be in Miami next year. But whether that means he's going to go the rest of the year with Miami or whether he's going to be traded, because I don't know how much trade value he has now compared to 2 years ago.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that's really hard right now that makes it difficult, at least on the player end, like on Jimmy Butler's end, is like, what is his value like really at? Especially being on an expiring deal. It's like, yes, you could have some people this year that are interested, want to make some moves for him, and that gives the, Miami a little bit of leverage. But it's like outside of that, like, man, like how do you keep him around? How do you keep a 35-year-old around when, we've already seen like the toll back in 2020, like playing that much, I'm sure has still made an impact on him a little bit. And that's happened every year. I mean, we can all picture the memes of this dude literally like leaning over the like barrier at the bubble. And it's like, how much is really left in his tank? Because like you said, Brock, it's like, he's probably out of his prime. There's still moments where maybe he can take over games, but it's like, especially for the teams that you're looking at, it's like, yeah, Houston makes sense, but at the same time, like, they're also a younger team that they're already doing well enough now. Do you really try to give this guy like 2-3 years, or do you wait longer and build up? It's a tricky spot, I think, to be in, if at least for Jimmy Butler. I think Miami, Pat Riley's got probably more leverage than we think, but at the same time, it's also Pat Riley, and he might be senile at this point. So who even knows? But
if this is the end, whether this means by the end of this year or through a trade, for the Jimmy Butler era, I guess you could call it, like I mentioned earlier, in Miami, with how lenient and open certain franchises have been to honoring and recognizing certain players for their contributions to teams, do you see a scenario where 5 years from now, Jimmy Butler gets his number retired in Miami?
I feel like, I don't know, this would be interesting to hear, maybe like somebody like Max, like their thoughts. I feel like Heat fans would be open to that. I don't know what the Heat organization, because I know like some organizations, kind of like you meant, like literally just said, but like there's like certain standards on like what you have to do, and like we already mentioned, there ain't much. Sure, there's memorable moments for Heat fans, and unfortunately memorable moments for us that hate the Miami Heat. But outside of that, it's like, I don't know. I really don't know.
He was
that's
never
hard.
NBA All First team.
That's
like
the thing.
That's another thing. So let's say this is like the start of the end for Jimmy Butler. He's 35, so at most 3 more years, because he's not LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
And the Basketball Hall of Fame, because there's not an NBA Hall of Fame. The Pro Basketball Hall of Fame is very, I feel like, open to allowing people in, depending on how long they play. So I think he's in. Put the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame type of how hard it is to get into there. Would you guys consider him a Hall of Famer?
No.
Probably not. But man, he certainly has a case, in my opinion, but I just don't think it's a strong enough case. Him not winning either the 2020 bubble championship or the 2023 championship obviously is going to hurt him. And like you guys said, he's never been a first team All NBA guy, which is really big. He's made All NBA second team, I believe, once in his career. So I think on that aspect, it's going to be tough for him to really have that strong of a case. But I definitely think there's a conversation to be had. Like, it's not a for sure no, or it's not a for sure yes for Jimmy.
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to like throw shade on him or whatever. It's just like, I feel like he's one of those guys that I feel like we'll like 10 years from now, like talk about just the type of player he, like, moments, streaks, runs that he had, but he never was able to like get over that hump. Now this is not the same thing because I do think this guy's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. He's kind of like Phillip Rivers, where he's always there, kind of annoying. Not that Phillip Rivers is annoying, but he's like causing chaos to certain teams depending on the scenarios. But he was never able to have a team or put together enough to win a championship or even make a real good run to a championship. Because let's be honest, Miami got to the finals in the bubble. I feel like a lot of people were on on LA by then. Miami got to the finals against the Nuggets. I don't think there was a single person that considered Miami winning that finals. So I don't know. I don't know what would need to be done for him. And I'm not trying to like say that this guy isn't worthy, but I feel like he's a little more overrated, overhyped. Maybe might be the correct term. I don't know. But we'll see what happens with him. Yeah.
Let's say he gets traded to Dallas. And let's say Dallas goes on a run and they win the title. And now Jimmy's got one ring, and he was a meaningful piece on that title
if he
run.
retires, he's a Hall of Famer. Like,
that's the scenario. If he gets traded, said this season, and whether it's to Golden State, whether it's to Dallas, I don't think Houston really has a chance to win the title. But for the sake of it, any of those teams, they end up winning the title. Do you guys think he's for sure in, or do you guys think he's still out?
A ring really helps. I think, and this isn't me being biased, Al Horford wasn't a Hall of Famer until last year. I think Al Horford now has enough traction, and this is because of the pro basketball credentials. Al Horford is nowhere near to being one of the all-time greatest players in NBA history, but he's been there long enough. He's put up decent, consistent numbers. He just needed that ring, and that's what a lot of those players like Jimmy Butler need in order to get that call to the Hall of Fame, in my opinion.
That disgusts me to hear. Day Al Horford gets in the Hall of Fame.
You don't think he's an Hall of Famer because he had
No, he is. That's why it's the worst.
I mean, it's one of those. I actually maybe Al Horford is a good comparison for Jimmy Butler because he led a team to a 1 seed, failed miserably. He had some maybe competitive rounds, competitive moments, even with the Celtics the first time around. Just couldn't win the big one. And what was it? Wasn't he the longest guy? He played the most games in NBA history without winning an NBA championship, most playoff games in NBA history without winning a championship. So this guy's been around the block, and Jimmy's kind of been around the block too. He just never was able to get over that hump. And maybe if I would say if Jimmy goes to a team this year, plays a meaningful role into a championship run, I think he's easily a Hall of Famer.
Basketball Reference, I don't know if you guys do this. You probably did. They have that Hall of Fame index meter where it's like it gives you the percentage chance that he's in the Hall of Fame. They're giving Jimmy Butler about a 73% chance of making the Hall of Fame. He's in that same group as Kevin Love and Klay Thompson.
And see, I put those. I wouldn't even put Jimmy Butler on the same level as those two.
He is ahead of Joel Embiid, which I think is hilarious in this, even though Embiid has a MVP. He's ahead of DeMar.
Honestly, just because of his name, it wouldn't shock me if Jimmy's ahead of Al Horford too, though.
Yeah, I think kind of based off of what we kind of said earlier, like with the NBA Hall of Fame, like it makes sense that they would put him in. Because I mean, I'm gonna for example, like Yao Ming, great player, and there was a very large like cultural impact that he had on playing in the NBA, which is probably a big reason as to why he ended up getting in. But it's like there's not a lot of, I mean, we know who Yao Ming is, and like people who have followed basketball for a while know who Yao Ming is, but it's like I don't think there's probably a ton of younger fans that probably know about Yao Ming, or even for example, Tracy McGrady, somebody that he played, And so I think in terms of where we are now at the Hall of Fame, it would make sense that he would have a fairly good shot of making it in. But I don't know.
Brock, to answer your question earlier, Al Horford is at 24%.
See,
behind guys, keep in mind, Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, I don't know. It's too early in Cat's career to
bigger
really,
name.
I guess. Who else is even? All these other names really make sense.
Al is
Like
one
John
of those
Wall.
guys that will be like the last chance that he can get.
Yeah,
Um,
they're saying.
and that's
This
what
just-
that.
makes
This
no
is another
sense.
thing that I wanted to ask you guys. Do you think that the league should have some kind of standard for retiring jerseys, like league wide, or are you guys okay with like, because like Kawhi Leonard's going to get his number retired by Toronto, and he played one season there. I get that he brought them a championship. I would almost think Kyle Lowry's a more deserving person over Kawhi Leonard. I don't know. I think sometimes they're too lenient on it with certain players. I get like, and maybe it's because it's the first championship. Because I'm like, Shaq has his number retired by Miami. I'm not gonna lie. Out of all the teams he's won a championship with, Miami's the last one that I even think about. It's just, I don't know. Like Chris Paul, he'll get his number retired by the Clippers, and you know what? I think he kind of deserves it there. Versus, like, I think I'm trying to remember who brought it up. Someone asked me when the Celtics won, and it was the quickest no I've ever said. Sticking on Al Horford, someone asked me if Al Horford will get his number retired by Boston. I was like, no, because Boston has way too many numbers already retired, and all those numbers, all those names have had greater impacts in terms of performance than Al Horford has. And that's no disrespect to Al Horford. Anybody who knows me, Al Horford, outside of Marcus Smart from this like run, has probably my favorite Celtics player of all time. And I don't think he's going to get his number retired, nor do I think he really deserves it. And that makes it sound like I'm bashing him, but that's just where we're at with the Celtics. And then you see other teams like, I don't know if, like, isn't Tony Allen getting his number retired by Memphis?
Is he? I don't even know.
Yes, I think that is right.
And no offense to Tony Allen. Tony Allen's a great defender. I don't know if his number, maybe they should change it to like having your name in the rafters or something like that. Because like retiring numbers that's a big deal in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's very much more team dependent than anything. Because it's like, I think, especially as you think of teams, it's like, you know, when you have a team like the Celtics that has as many championships as you do, it's like you have to have a higher and higher standard, especially as you become an older and older franchise. But especially for like a younger franchise or maybe a franchise with less success, it's kind of like you have to remember like almost like the building blocks, kind of like where you came from. And it's like, for example, like with Tony Allen with Memphis, it's like he created like a culture with that Memphis team that has like gone on and on, like, and has continued with like the idea of like the Memphis Grizzlies being like this gritty, tough team. Him and like Zach Randolph, for example, like both of them.
And he got his number retired.
Yep. And so I think it is very much more team dependent than it is league dependent. But I do think there are some times where it's like, okay, like let's calm down. Like if, for example, this would make me laugh if this happened. There's no way this ever did. But you know, if Terry Rozier got his number retired by the Charlotte Hornets for being like top 5 in scoring, I think I would laugh so hard. But there's no way like that would I don't think that would ever actually.
Hunter, you grew up a Clippers fan. Do you think Chris Paul and Blake Griffin will both have their numbers retired?
I think so, because they brought so much like.
What about DeAndre Jordan?
Ooh, that one I don't know. That one I feel like it could be just based off of one dunk that he would get in. But he did like have a very, very like, he was like dominant when he was there is the thing.
All right, now think of this team's history, championship pedigree, everything.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Is LeBron? Does LeBron deserve? Not necessarily will get, but does LeBron deserve to get his number retired by the Lakers?
I think so. Personally. I think so, I mean, too. Obviously, yeah, you said like, I think regardless of if LeBron would have, you know, been like, I mean, obviously you would probably have to win the title for them to do it. But I think just because of who he is, I think regardless, he would get his number retired almost anywhere he would go, unless it were, you know, a whole like Wizards Michael Jordan situation where he just goes there like for the last couple years. But he did bring a title.
Was your jersey retired by the Wizards?
That'd be wild. But
I don't think so.
But I think just because of like the gravity, it's like you could do something like that.
Yeah, and it's like that I keep debating myself on that one because it's like, yeah, he won a title, but it's the Lakers. At the same time, the Lakers were trash before that. And then also he broke the all-time scoring record as a Laker. And whether or not that matters to certain people, everybody's going to remember which jersey he was wearing when that game happened. The game again, the dunk that he had after Kobe's passing is one of the more iconic photos in NBA history in recent memory. I wanted to get your guys' perspective. I do think he will get it. I can't put my bias aside without saying whether or not he deserves it. And that's just me being a Celtics fan. So that's why I wanted to get your guys' perspective because you guys know how that is when you got that player that's tormented you your entire life. It's hard to like put bias aside when you're talking about him and his legacy. Tom Brady for you. Hunter, I know you probably have a bunch of those players in your mind that have been like that you're growing up. I mean, you're more on the you were a Packers fan. You're a Packers fan, so you've experienced more success than some other people. But it's just I wanted to get your guys' perspective, and it's kind of interesting that we went from talking about Jimmy Butler trade rumors to Hall of Fame and LeBron. How does Jimmy Butler's trading rumors affect LeBron's legacy? Another player, not team, that I saw that is in the rumor mill of trades revolves around Hunter's team in New Orleans. Brandon Ingram is a player that has been not necessarily shopped around, but tossed around as a potential trade idea. Before we hit on Brandon, let's go back to Jimmy. If he got traded, try to put your bias aside as much as possible. Who do you think is the best fit for him from the three teams that you saw?
I think not one of the three teams. Bias completely aside, I think a Jimmy Butler for Bobby Portis trade is underway and happening.
Underway, like legit?
It's already no.
It's in the works, bro.
I don't know. I think Golden State would be a really interesting fit. I don't know what kind of package you throw together to make that happen if you're Golden State. I also don't know if they did that, you'd essentially be selling your soul at that point. You're like, all right, we're gonna win a title, and then we're just gonna go into complete like irrelevance like after him and Steph are done.
I mean, I feel like they should do that anyways.
That's the thing though. It's like I wouldn't put it past them to do it because you kind of, I say that almost in a bad way of like they'd be doing it, but it's like you kind of have to when you have those aging stars, like you have to do something like that.
Because I really don't think they'll ever give up Draymond. Draymond would have to leave on his own or demand out.
Yeah. And
no offense, Draymond, he ain't getting better. I mean, he showed his youth with that
was crazy.
Enthusiastic dunk at the end of the game last week, but he ain't getting younger. Steph's not getting younger. This team's not getting younger.
Yeah, I think that would be the most interesting one to me. I think Dawson even mentioned it earlier, and I agree. I think Houston would just be a really weird one. Like it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it's like it also doesn't, in my mind at least, because it's just like you gotta wait a little bit longer. I think Dallas, especially hearing that package that you brought up, Brock. I don't know. I think I would be more for it than you would be on the Mavericks end, just because of like what he could bring to the table. I think I don't know how that fit would work between him, Kyrie, and Luka. That would be really interesting to see how you do that. Because like you meant, it's like I don't know how you would make Jimmy a catch and shoot guy. But at the same time, we kind of said the same thing about Luka and Kyrie and how they'd fit, but then they made the finals. So I think great players do adapt, but I think Golden State would be the one that intrigues me the most out of those three.
He reminds me, he's an older version of Andrew Wiggins, minus that I think I can trust Andrew Wiggins a little more behind the arc. So I do think that Golden State might be a little better. I would still trust Jimmy Butler, honestly, over Andrew Wiggins in a playoff run. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Dawson, is the Warriors probably your go-to or best fit for him?
So I have two different answers to this. I think out of those three, like that he's rumored to be like willing to go to, I think Golden State makes the most sense But can I throw a curveball at you guys?
No,
How
not the
about
Celtics.
Memphis?
Oh.
That'd be wild.
I mean, he fits that Tony Allen like gritty. If that's what they're still going for, which I mean,
You could
And
you
they'd
could
have the
make a
pieces
package
for
of
it.
like Brandon Clark, maybe Luke Kennard and John Conchar and picks for
it would
Jimmy.
have to depend on contracts. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking. Well, Clark's at 12.5 million, Kennard's at 9.5 million, and Conchar's at 6 million. So that's
I
about
think they could make
27
that work.
million.
Actually, might be a good option.
I don't know.
Interesting.
I just think Memphis is super close. Like I like the roster a lot. They got Ja, obviously have Desmond Bain, they have Jaren. Edie looks like a good NBA player so far. I'm not gonna. I know Hunter's
I hate
not happy with my answer on that. They're drafting well. They nailed their pick on Jalen Wells in the second round, who looks like a great role player for him. So I feel like they're able to like take a huge swing for a guy like this. And again, I don't think it's a monster offer where it's like 3 players and 4 first round picks. I think this is something you could do for like some salary fillers and maybe a pick and maybe a pick swap. I don't think it's gonna be a crazy deal.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Going over to Brandon Ingram. Sounds like the attempt of building a team in New Orleans is continuing to fall apart. The cracks are getting wider. Injuries keep stacking up. Losses keep stacking up. So if Ingram gets traded, is there any team for you guys that kind of sticks out as a potential suitor for them?
It's a sad day for us Believers.
Believers. Love that.
Believers.
I love that.
I am again on by like a Bobby Portis package and Pat Connaughton for BI would be really.
I don't know if that's a good trade.
But I was seeing that. I think it's interesting now, especially with him getting hurt. That kind of makes him take a little bit of a timeout, which also makes them, probably think more about like what does it look like. I think I did see some reports that they're not interested in moving Zion. So there you have it.
Well, who would want him?
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
a fair argument, but
yeah, I think BI is interesting because like I could see him like I think the easy comparison a lot of people have for him is like, oh, he's a tall, lengthy guy, so he's Kevin Durant. But I think he's so interesting because it's like I think he's someone that you could make more of like a second or third option. And so you kind of have to think about what are the teams that are looking for that. I don't know what they would put together for it, but especially with like a team like the Clippers, where it's like, well, they just got rid of PG. It's like, do you bring in, do you shake things up and bring somebody in? You got Norman Powell that's playing out of his mind now. Are you able to package something around him, or you keep him? And so, but yeah, I don't know. I think if I were any team in the NBA, I would be interested in at least calling to see what the asking price is for somebody like him. But until we really kind of get some ideas for that, I think it's hard to be like, where is he? Because like I said, on one hand, is he probably a win the title first option? Probably not. But he could be, reliable second or third, in my opinion. So
go to Detroit.
No. Stop.
Sorry.
Gross.
I just wanted to see your reaction.
Gross.
We mentioned this guy's name earlier in the episode. Getting closer to 15,806 assists. I don't know if he's going to get there.
Those
but he's
numbers
getting
are
closer.
wrong, man. Those numbers, I don't care what anybody says. Those stats are so inflated, man.
oh yeah,
John Stockton's a fake and a fraud.
Explain.
Dude,
they were inflating.
there was a
back in the
clip
90s.
of him. I believe there's a clip of him. He passed the ball to somebody, and I don't know how. Like I'm still lost on how this happened, but I think this person shot the ball and missed terribly. And I think Karl Malone put a put back dunk, and somehow John Stockton got an assist for it. And I'm still lost on how that works. Honestly, I'm still lost on if that's true or not, because to me that seems so wild. How could that be true? But like, dude, Especially after seeing what Chris Paul has done for as long. How in the world did this dude get that many assists? I just don't understand.
I mean, there was no cameras on for Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game, so
Exactly,
we were
Brock.
able to point that.
Exactly.
But anyways, Chris Paul at 12,099 assists and counting with the San Antonio Spurs, or just overall in his career. I personally think that he's top 2. I'd take him over John Stockton personally as a point guard in terms of distributing, even over the assist numbers that John Stockton has. By the way,
Oh yeah,
people forget how good Jason Kidd was of a passer. Like, we watched Jason Kidd past his prime with the Mavericks, the Knicks, his last few years in the league. And honestly, probably the younger generation only knows him as the guy that told a player to bump him so he could get a free timeout, so he spilled his drink as a head coach of the Brooklyn Nets.
Time to be alive.
But Chris Paul moves into number 2. My opinion, he's the best point guard in terms of distributing the ball. Lob City era was one of the more electric eras in basketball for a team that never won a championship. He was really fun to watch in New Orleans. Hunter, being someone that actually probably was a bigger Chris Paul fan than Dawson and myself, where do you put him up against the other point guards? And again, basketball has kind of turned into a positionless world. Yeah. But where do you rank him in terms of point guards throughout NBA history?
Yeah, I guess, I can start off with this first. Like, for me, like the Phoenix Suns and Bucks final series was so difficult because growing up, Chris Paul was my favorite player. Being a guy, I'm not very big. I'm especially not very strong. And so to see somebody like Chris Paul like dominate the way he did, like in the 2010s, was like the best thing ever. So he was my favorite player for a long, long time. But in terms of like all-time point guards, I think it's really difficult because he also, played in the same era as, in my opinion, the greatest point guard of all time, Steph Curry. And even in terms of passing, he's definitely my favorite. I don't know who I would give the edge to between him and like Magic Johnson, just because his passing is in Nikola Jokic. No. But those are like two of my probably up there. In terms of like other point guards in general, what would I put him? I think for me, I would definitely put him top. I think I'd go top 4.
I respect that. Yeah.
Top 4, top 5.
Yeah. I mean, and really, when you look at it, you can interchange so many of these players depending on certain games, certain seasons, certain situations.
Accolades.
Especially. I mean, yeah. Steve Nash is a guy that many people don't remember how good he was in his prime because of the failed attempt of a super team in LA.
And the whole, like Kobe MVP stuff makes people hate Steve Nash more too. Like him winning.
That's true. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Oh, I mean, Shaq even said that. I think he stole one of his MVPs. I don't know if Shaq would have gotten MVP if it wasn't for Steve Nash, but he's someone that I don't think gets enough credit. I think the point guard position is one of the more interesting positions to debate, just because there are so many that you're like, oh yeah, this guy was really, really good for a long time, and then when he kind of fell off, he fell off. I mean, this is not even remotely close, but like the 6 years Rondo was a stud, like people forget how good he was in the playoffs. And I mean, he kind of even showed that in his heyday with the Lakers when he went for that championship. By the way, Hardwood, Kyle Lowry is top 20 in assists.
He's been playing for a bazillion years.
Which is better than Tony Parker.
That's crazy.
That is kind of wild.
See, Tony Parker's another one.
You forgot to mention another name. This fraud that's behind Tony Parker. I know you have the list pulled up, Brock. Doesn't dribble his left hand.
Hey,
not Jaylen Brown.
Hey,
Not Jalen Brown. Other Celtics guy, Bob Cousy, mailman and plumber era.
hey. You know how good you have to be to only dribble with your right hand and still
Yeah,
get over
I know, right?
6,000? Oh,
Good times, guys. Good times.
I will always be clowning on the mailman and plumber era because it just
Amen.
wasn't real.
Amen. I could have played in that era. I would
Dude,
have fit right in.
They would have seen me start shooting threes, and they would have had no idea what the hell they were seeing.
there's no way you just did that, Hunter. Oh my god. The best part is only a few people know exactly what you just
The
did.
claw never loses, baby. The claw never loses.
Oh my gosh. No, I wish Chase was here.
You would have loved that.
He would have died too. By the way, Muggsy Bogues is top 25 in assists.
Space Jam legend.
Steph Curry is only one assist behind Jerry West all time.
Ooh.
So if the Warriors play,
That'll really shake things up.
Yeah, do the Warriors play tonight?
No, that's only the NBA Cup games.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
A couple of them.
Looking at just other big, accomplishments. Russell Westbrook's a few hundred points away from moving to 22nd all time. Steph Curry's a little over 1,000 away to moving in the top 25. DeMar DeRozan is also close to getting in the top 25, which kind of shocks me because kind of no one really talks about him and his stats. Chris Paul is about a little less than 40 away from passing Jason Kidd again, but this time for steals. So they must have just handed John Stockton the ball too back in the 90s.
Saying.
Back in the 90s, dude, they inflated everyone's stats.
Yeah.
You can look it up. It's a real thing.
John Stockton passed it. It was probably an assist.
And a steal.
Waited 14 seconds for anybody to do anything, but he's the last one to pass the ball, so should probably give it to him. Terrible.
Another thing that we wanted to hit on today, I think we have officially established Hunter as the curse of the Hardwood Convos podcast. News of both Wagner and Banchero being injured for the Magic. And Hunter, I mean, do you have any opinions on this? I know the Magic and Bucks are playing right now as we're recording here on a Tuesday night. Magic are down 1 against the Bucks at halftime in the NBA Cup. Hunter, we talked a lot about the Magic. We played their song actually last week, and then all this happens. What's next for them?
Dude, I don't even know. Because, I don't even know. What do you do, man? Same injury, by the way. I feel bad. That's all I'm gonna I just feel bad. Because it's you're losing now. You're losing two. You're losing. You lost Paulo. He's been averaging 29 points this year. Franz is averaging a solid 25. Your next best is Jalen Suggs at 16. It's okay, let's see what he can do now. Goga had a crazy game though. He played really good. I believe in the game against the Suns. But it's I don't know what you do, man. You just gotta thug it out, ball up top. I don't even.
By the way, do you see who's leading the Bucks?
We're not talking about it. All right, everyone should be watching this game just so that way we can be hey, we really want this guy on our basketball team because you do. Because I don't want him on mine anymore. So you can have him.
As we're recording here, Bobby Portis is leading the Bucks with 16 points in the NBA Cup quarterfinals.
Don't get me wrong. If he kept this up, he could stay on the team. However, shooting at a 90% clip for the rest of the season isn't exactly something that's attainable. So,
the only thing
John Horst, let's pick up the phone, buddy. All right, let's get things going.
Pat Connaughton.
If Pat Connaughton was second in points, I think Hunter would actually lose it.
All right, I would. Giannis still has 20. That's my king.
What was that?
Giannis still has 20, so that's my king.
Derry Bird's got 3.
Derry. But yeah,
I love that nickname.
I just feel bad for the Magic because they're still in a good spot. That's the thing is they're still gonna win games. I feel like they're a deep enough team still that they can make some noise in the sense of scaring some teams that are better, especially better than them now losing their 2 best players. But man, I just don't know what you do.
Speaking of a team that stock has been rising. This team's stock has been rising. Maybe this will be the next week's episode of We Jinx This Team. But the Grizzlies have won 9 out of the last 10 games. And I'm not going to lie, it is separated by 0.2, but I didn't expect Jaren Jackson to be leading the team in points per game. At the same time, I didn't really expect him to be scoring over 20, honestly.
Hey, Ja doesn't dunk anymore, dude, so that's why he's not averaging that many points.
Do you think that's going to benefit them in the long run because of his injury history?
Maybe. I don't know. It's just his play style. I think is just so reckless that I don't think there's a way to really limit like his injury. I like dunking obviously will help a little bit, but I don't know if that like will eliminate all the issues that Ja might have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, Jaren Jackson's playing well. Zach Edey is performing very well. I know that's Hunter's Rookie of the Year pick. I think that was. So good pick on that, Hunter.
It's better than my Rookie of the Year pick. I'll tell you what. Mine's probably still averaging 3 a game.
Let's actually look at Rookie of the Year odds.
I believe it's got to be Jared McCain at top.
Yeah,
that's probably
is. Or
Jalen Wells though. Also,
yeah, Jalen Wells been playing good.
Zach Edey might not be the best.
No, Zach Edey isn't even top 5.
Yeah.
So. Guess who has the best Rookie of the Year prediction? Because Dawson and Chase, I think, both went
Reed
Shepherd,
who's averaging 4 points a game.
Alex Sarr is my pick, and he's 5th in Rookie of the Year odds right now. McCain is like the heavy favorite.
Yeah.
Dalton Connect is the guy that's in number 2.
Yep.
And Stephon Castle. And honestly, interesting enough, Rishishire.
Mm-hmm.
He's had a couple good games so far.
Mm-hmm.
So
the Hawks are a better team than I would have given them credit for.
Had a nice buzzer beater against Lakers.
Jalen Wells is 7th, and Zach Edey is right behind him. So, let's see where Reed Shepherd is.
Reed. Not probably listed.
Let's. We went to see all
50,000.
Who has better odds, him or Bronny?
Oh my god! Don't even say that.
Bronny is only on one board, and I don't even know which company this is, and he's plus 50,000.
I'm taking that.
Reed Shepherd opened up at plus 850. He is now at plus 30,000 on most places.
Ooh.
It's not good for the brand, not good for the culture. Not gonna lie.
I mean, it's better than picking the second favorite and then the second favorite not even being in the top 5.
Could be worse.
I have a curse with Rookie of the Year, dude.
Hunter has a curse of picking teams.
Yeah, let's calm down.
No, but my Rookie of the Year picks need to be studied, dude. Holy, at the Bryce Young one last year.
That's something. I
had Scoot the year in the NBA last year. Brock, I'm gonna have to watch back or NFL one.
I'm trying to remember who we did. For NFL.
As an avid Bryce Young.
I think I just said Caleb.
I think we both went Caleb.
Yeah, which isn't like he's not having a bad season.
Who, unrelated to NBA. By the way, Bears fans said he had the best scenario as a number 1 pick, like walking in.
I said,
where are they at now?
I said in our draft thing, and it was like, I barely snuck it in on our preview. Dawson, I'll have to send you this clip where I said that he's not deserving of a number 1 overall pick, but Bo Nix might be the steal for quarterbacks.
Brock did sneak that in.
I believe in Bo.
I've always been a Bo-liever.
It helps when you're 30 years old as a rookie, but.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me that I was 30 years old. And I was like, I may look like I'm 30. I'm not 30 yet.
No. Bo Nix is unironically 30. It's okay. Michael Penix is 35 sitting on the bench.
It's all right. Cam Rising's coming back for another year.
Year what, 9?
Or Fries and bag. Fries and bag, Cam. Fries and bag.
Miami's got a player that's year 8 or year 9 in college.
The tight end?
Yes, McCormick.
I will say, okay, but he literally has went through like hell and back. He played literally one season before this year, and everything else was nothing but torn ACLs.
I get that, but dude, at some point.
By the way, not that you guys care about women's basketball or anything, but Iowa State had one of the best players ever get declined her medical red shirt, Stephanie Suarez, because not given a reason, just she wanted
Didn't
to
feel
play
like
a fifth year. But yet, Cam Rising's getting ready to play his 9th year, already has a PhD. I don't know what you do after that. Like,
Hey,
can
man.
you get a super
Another
PhD?
major.
Woo! How much underwater basket weaving can this dude do?
Dude, when Cade entered the portal last week, I kept seeing the Tommy Boy meme where it's like, yeah, a lot of people go to college for
Yeah,
7
they're called
years.
doctors.
And I immediately thought of Cam when you said,
Oh,
I'm
God.
like, oh man, that's so funny.
I love that movie. That line too. Someone sent that to me as I was starting my fall
That
semester.
guy, little coat. Love that.
I fit into McGuire's coat once, and I did that. Almost ripped it too.
This
Don't
episode
knock
is so
on our door
unhinged.
because our entire house will go housekeeping, and then
Yep.
we'll proceed to say the other
You want
lines.
towel?
Yeah, the other lines that we're
Yeah,
not going to say
I'm
on this
not
podcast.
saying them.
Okay,
You want from Hero?
that's such a great great movie. Yeah, they're called doctors.
Oh, gosh.
What was the other line? Hi, I'm Earth. Have we met or something like that? Oh shoot.
Tommy want wingy. Tommy want wingy.
Hunter, you ready for
I'm always ready. I was born ready.
all right, let me get this music going.
Alrighty. Well, it was a pretty uneventful week, but I did send Brock a couple of clips right before we started. So there's a couple things that happened in this Knicks and Raptors game, which is, I believe, the only basketball game that happened. One of those I didn't send in, but it was towards the very end of the game. But we got to see OG Anunoby against RJ, which is kind of cool to see. And then Cat obviously did his thing and flexed his New York, which is one of my favorite things that players do, by the way, is flexing their city. But there's a better clip. For those of us out here who are avid KU haters, shout out all my KU haters. There's a certain player on the Raptors that named Grady Dick, who I especially dislike.
You don't like Dick?
We spent the entire Big 12 tournament talking about Grady Dick's mom playing at Iowa State for some reason. Cool. Anyway, he did something that Brock has been in a similar situation, by the way. Would love to see that clip sometime on here, but
I can find it if you want.
But can we, if we're able to see the Grady Dick clip?
Yeah.
Yeah, goes into drive.
Oops.
And right into the face. Oh my goodness. Yeah, looking like KUV Mizzou this last weekend. Golly. I can't get over seeing it. I think it's so funny. But man, especially for any of you guys out there going into your finals week here soon at college, don't do that. Don't face plant into a camera. But yeah, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about with Brock, though,
I'm trying to find the video.
He was sidelined for a certain basketball game of
Ooey pooey.
And our boy Jaron Holmes just
I got the photo though. I did get the photo.
You got the photo.
No, as in like I
the good photo. That's right. Yep. Remember seeing that.
I'm not gonna be able to show it, but I did get the photo.
That's okay.
Where's the freaking video at? Did I? How much time we got? Oh no, we're showing it. We got 5 minutes.
I'll keep going, but yeah, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but Bobby Portis in as Chris Middleton's been back, by the way. The game has missed you, James Christian Middleton. Thank you for your service and being back. His first play back, he got a 4-point play against the Celtics, but
he did miss a layup in the clutch.
We don't have to talk about the rest of the game, Brock. But Bobby Portis decided to just, actually play defense. So that was good. If he does that, though, he can stay on my basketball team. I just have no faith in that happening. So, but if he keeps up, he can. But then there's another clip, and we talked about it earlier, but the the Golden State Warriors and Minnesota Timberwolves played against each other, and it was a close game at the end towards the end. Golden State had the lead though. It's not a secret if you follow NBA basketball, but there's a certain hatred for a French man that plays for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and a certain player that's on Golden State who's an avid hater of said French man. Bro called ISO Mr. Draymond Green, who shoots like he got the backpack on, you know. Turned into 2018 LeBron James, man. If you missed it, go find it. It was incredible. Full on, looked like a 99 overall 2K player. Will crossover between the legs, drives by, yams it home. My favorite part is him running down the court with a full on terrible pillow placement, like up on his like forehead, basically running down the court the entire way. I love hater hoops, man. It's my favorite thing in the world, but that's all I got. If you can see this, yes. Where's Brock? There he goes into Brock. It's so funny that he just stays there for like a solid second.
I'm sitting, dude. I vividly remember. I'm like, I'm touching his leg. I'm like, get off of me. I'm okay. Gets better. You ready?
Oh,
Watch
man.
this.
So funny, man.
He's done. But yeah, me and this cameraman from the Raptors game, we got a lot of like.
See, he got less action. Like,
no, he got a face full of dick
on
still.
Top he like full on like was on top. Like that one, he just face planted into the camera. Which he got a good photo. If you find, he has like an actual photo like of Grady Dick like in front of the camera. But yeah, Brock just gets like tackled, but like with legs. It's like a reverse tackle.
Dude, I got kneed in the face. It hurts. At least I hope that was his knee.
My Mr. Jaron Holmes, dude. Shout out.
If it wasn't his knee, we got some issues.
Oh no.
Oh man. I'm telling you.
That's so
the cameraman
funny.
got a face full of dick. Grady Dick, my hero.
That guy's something else.
I apologize
really
for
something
people
else.
This episode is so unhinged.
Too much dick talk. I apologize.
It's not even funny.
Am I gonna have to mark this?
Bouquet you
as
though. Bouquet you, everybody.
Dude,
Hate
I'm
those
not gonna
guys.
lie. I used to hate the Mr. Brightside thing. After this weekend, I'm all in.
He's all in.
The best
Love it.
part is the video board after the chorus. It does beat KU for Missouri, and if you think they're chanting beat KU, that you're deaf.
Yeah.
And as an Iowa State fan, we don't chant beat KU. We chant something about KU, but it's not beat KU. That's for sure. Dawson, are you going to be one of the 10 fans in Carver on Thursday?
I am.
Wow.
I bought my ticket. You won't even guess how much it costs.
$10.
Like
$2.
Whoa. Try cutting that in half.
Are you
$1.
serious?
It was $5. It was
Dang.
$5, and I got tickets to one other game.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, you guys
Incredible.
are pathetic.
We
Incredible.
don't like our men's team.
Are you going to the women's game then?
No, I have a homework due tomorrow, so we'll not do that one. But
You don't watch Kylie Feuerbach get absolutely bodied by Emily Ryan?
no, I'm gonna watch Lucy Olson drop some fucking buckets.
Wow.
I'm gonna have to mark this as explicit podcast.
Oh, that's my bad. I thought we were off the air. Tell me.
All right.
Sorry,
For Hunter Rose. Sorry. Yep. All right. For Hunter Rose, Dawson Livingston, I'm Brock Bierman. We are the Hardwood Convos crew. Chase will probably join us next week. Sorry for all the potty mouth talk if you're still listening to our podcast here, but make sure to listen to our other podcasts, the Sports Nerds and the 515 podcast. Here on the 515 Podcast Network, we'll be back next week with more NBA talk here on the Hardwood Convos.